take some kids around. Anything to save the county some money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hayashi?
Thank you. I have endorsed Measure B very early on, and this is a half-cent sales tax increase and eliminating the sunset on previous half-cent sales tax for infrastructure here in Alameda County. It includes funding for AC transit as well as infrastructure, roads, and other important improvements throughout the county, and I think it's an important measure that deserves to be passed. So I'm in very much support of the measure. There's something really great happening in Fremont when the Governor Jerry Brown came down and did a big event at Tesla. They're building this great infrastructure over there with the Job Education Center. They're trying to bring a BART station, and really could be a role model for smart growth, I believe, throughout the county. And so I'm in very much support of bringing BART station to that extra step. And I think that whenever we could combine housing, public transit, and where you work and where you study all together in one place, that's how you can get people off the street.
Thank you. Mr. Valle?
Yes, I've endorsed Measure B1, which is the next measure for public transportation. It's a good thing, and the connector out to the Livermore Valley is a great thing. I think we'd all agree that it's probably 30 years overdue, and it should have been done at the very outset. Thank goodness it's going to happen. But I also support the new station going out to Milpitas, and eventually I suspect it'll go into Santa Clara County and throughout the Bay and connect back up at San Francisco Airport, which was, I think, the original plan. Next week, I'm meeting with the BART general manager, and we're talking about jobs, and we're talking about transportation and how to enhance opportunities for small businesses, because when Measure B1 does pass, there's going to be great opportunities for small businesses from throughout Alameda County to flourish, because there'll be a lot of infrastructure work that's going to come forward. In addition to that, I'm glad, in communication with AC Transit recently, that they changed their frame of mind, and they were buying buses from Van Hool, which is a German manufacturer, and all those buses were being built and manufactured by German labor and then imported in the United States. Well, just recently, through the leadership of Chris Peoples, who is an AC Transit director, they've switched to Gillig, which is based in South Hayward on industrial. And those buses are now going to be purchased from Hayward. That's going to provide a lot of local jobs, a lot of opportunities. AC Transit now is actually hiring because they are bringing on a whole new fleet of buses, and the majority of those, if not all of them, will be running on clean natural gas, which is extremely important for our environment.
Thank you. Mr. Green?
Well, I think you'd have a news flash tonight if I came out against Measure B1, since I was the fellow who chaired that endeavor for several years to get it to this point. So yes, I'm wholeheartedly in favor of Measure B1. And as I've told people for the last year, regardless of whom you vote for here tonight or whom else you vote for on the ballot, in my humble opinion, the most important thing you can do is vote yes on Measure B1, because I think across the county, the average citizen will have more positive aspects of their life improved by having that passed than whatever else you do on the entire ballot. My vision of transportation basically is looking at it as the fifth freedom beyond speech, association, press, and religion. Is the freedom of mobility. And this measure, among other things, has that equation, I think, almost solved in its entirety in terms of the breadth and depth. We're looking at pedestrians, paratransit improvements, local streets and roads, BART and Livermore, Dumbarton Rail getting funding, the East-West Connector was mentioned, finally getting the funding sufficient to go from Mission Boulevard to Paseo Padre and Fremont, getting the east side of our BART station opened up, getting an infill station at Irvington in the city of Fremont, AC Transit, which was mentioned earlier, getting a huge amount of money, frankly. I mean, they're getting something like 18.9% of the measure for operating funds going in. We also some technology funds we'll be looking at, and some priority development areas getting special funding for housing, which after redevelopment was killed, we'll be needing every Band-Aid we can to keep that affordable housing wagon moving forward.
Thank you. The next question will start with Ms. Hayashi. This is a long question. I think I'll just give you the shortened version. The state legislature disbanded redevelopment agencies. What will you do to restore the funding that went away with redevelopment?
Yes, unfortunately, we, at the state level, decided to redirect those property tax dollars to education and public safety. And we felt that that was an important decision, given the dwindling resources and the financial situation we're in. Now, there's this myth that RDA was solely for affordable housing, but most cities or counties that had RDA were only doing 20% affordable housing. And as many of you know, it received very bad press throughout the state, where some of the funds were being used not for economic development, but in some cases in different cities, and not even in their own cities. In absence of RDA, the state legislature is now looking at reviving the affordable housing component of the RDA and providing some support for that to the cities and the counties. The county actually has a lot of resources in terms of providing opportunities to build, and the federal government also has grants. It's through competitive process, but there are monies out there that are available that we could apply and get from the federal government to build affordable housing, especially in the area of supportive housing. And this is true because my recent trip to Washington, D.C., when I met with the HUD secretary, that state and some of the counties in California do not apply for their fair share of their housing funding. So I think we need to figure out different ways to get support for housing in Alameda County.
Thank you. Mr. Valle?
You know, what the legislature did to our cities by killing redevelopment devastated a lot of our plans. Our intermodal station here in Union City, Hayward's own plan around their South Hayward BART station was devastated. Newark, Fremont, we all suffered as a result of that action by the state, which in my humble opinion was the inability of the state to balance its own budget and instead did it on the backs of our cities. And as a city council member for 13 years, we saw that as a constant trend from Sacramento. There was rarely any good news coming from Sacramento, whether it was for education or for social services or for our cities. As a result, now the burden falls on our cities and the ROPS plans, which I sit on the Hayward, Union City, and Newark commissions, to think about creative ways to redo redevelopment and recreate our communities. It's a lot of energy is being put into by a lot of people. All of the elected officials are at the table. Our special districts are at the table. Our school districts are at the table. So we've created a collaborative process to relook at how we're going to create these opportunities for revenue in our respective communities. And if there's anything positive that came out of redevelopment, it's the fact that we're all at the table simultaneously thinking about these issues and putting our minds together and trying to come to a solution for this tremendous problem. Bottom line is, it's going to take private investment. It's going to take us to achieve a higher level of understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green?
In my 2 decades up here, in my estimation, I've said this more than once, so I won't back away from it tonight, the worst decision that's been made at the state level in the 20 years that I've been up here as an elected official was killing redevelopment. And it wasn't just affordable housing as you see it at a place like Mid-Peninsula. That's certainly an aspect of it. I mean, we had other aspects of it here. Just looking, Richard mentioned the ROPS, that we're having staff just grinding hours and hours and hours, day after day of time wasted when we are having this developmentally disadvantaged adults funding being challenged. We're having low-income senior housing being challenged. We're having immigration services being challenged. We're having, as I said, the standard affordable housing being challenged, getting these critical environmentally devastated areas, which we had out here, Pacific State Steel. We still have a slag site out there. We still have a wetlands area to deal with. It goes on and on and on. Now, what needs to take place is there needs to be some piecemealing of this back at the state level to start putting some, son or daughter of redevelopment two together. That needs to happen. We have too many things at stake, not only in Union City, but Richard mentioned other cities in this district, but also across the state of California. It wasn't a problem unique to Union City, but frankly, we're going to have